Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's Shewchuk once again, and I'm sitting here with Darcy Lemaigre, the lead singer of the Flamebusters. I was able to run into him earlier today and asked him if I could take some time away from his busy schedule and come sit with me this evening and jam a song and reminisce and talk about the good old days of the Flamebusters and maybe how he got started in music and who influenced him. And he's been playing music for many, many years. We were talking earlier, you believe we talked and we kind of figured that they started in 85. So he's been playing for over 30 years and they're still playing today. So that's something else I wanted to mention. So with that being said, Darcy, thank you for sitting down with me and taking this time to share some of your music history with us. So one of my first questions would be like, how did you get started in music when you were younger? And maybe who influenced you and maybe how old you were?
Oh, to tell you the truth, I started playing music at a Christmas concert when I was a kid. I was head of the class all the time. But anyway, that's where I picked it up from, and I love music ever since I was a kid. Well, back then it was a radio, record player, and stuff like that.
How old were you?
I was roughly about 7 years old.
Wow.
And then, like, I started singing along with music. I might have been, about 10, 11 years old. And then I went on and on. Like, I was getting better with my voice, singing along with songs on a record player. Back then it was a record player. But anyway.
Did you start singing before you played the guitar?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
And then one day I wanted to learn how to play guitar when I was going to school. So I went to music class. And my fingers were a little stubborn. I was getting frustrated with myself. I couldn't play guitar. Like I just admired people watching playing guitar. And every time I watch people play guitar, I always watch their fingers and then where they go and this and that. So it took me probably about 6 months I caught on. But it, next step was now learning how to strum the guitar. So I started doing that. It finally worked out, learning three major chords, of course, G, C, and D. So I finally picked up playing guitar. Now the next step was playing guitar and putting the song in there. And there was one song I picked up, I can't really remember what it was. It was a simple song. I don't know how many times I played it over and over and so finally I started playing the song. And then I finally learned the song. And one day we were going on a field trip, a sport trip, I can't remember where it was. And they had the guitar in there. We were going down south. They had the guitar in there. These guys were playing there. I was watching them. And they asked me, they said, do you know a song? Of course I do. I just had to show these guys that I actually know a song. So and then I started playing, and then they're all watching me playing this song. And then they end the song, everybody, started hollering at me. All right, okay.
Encouraging you.
Yeah. Okay. And then, you know another song? No, that's the only song I know.
Would that be in the 70s, or what would that be about?
That was
early 80s? I'm just wondering.
Yeah, early 80s. And then I went on and on. Like I started learning different songs here and there, picking up from, from playing music on the stereo, of course, right?
What were some of the musicians that you might have seen around town, or maybe some musicians around when you were young and learning that might have been playing, that might have influenced you? You talked about watching others play. Maybe you can mention some of those other people you watched. There might have been some local musicians. There might have been some people that played in town, or
yeah, like the old guys when they used to play music. I was admiring them when I was just a kid, though.
Can you mention maybe some of those names?
Like Albert Herman that passed
Albert?
away. Yeah,
late
Albert.
Okay.
Yeah, I always admired him. And then one day, we were playing music together, and I told him, where I picked up music? No, he said, I picked it up from you guys. I'm watching you guys. And then they started laughing anyway. And then different bands, like they used to have these old bands coming in from Malacross or like Northern Fire. I always admired them, watching them play. And I always thought to myself, one day I'm going to be up there. Who knows, you know, if I can make it up there. And actually I did, you know. And then we made a band, and then we're actually jamming together.
So it was pretty cool then to
yeah.
North Wind. Albert actually played in the North Wind band, and he played back in the early days.
Way back there. It was actually, they made a band like they always used to jam.
Yeah.
And I always watch these guys play. And so, but anyway, very first time when I started, we actually weren't making up a band, but we actually became a band. Where it started was we had this old set of instruments that was bought off Fernand Fontaine. Fire department bought it off. Old beat up instruments, but it was something, you know. It was something good to us. It was something to do when we were all sitting at fire hall, me and Ken and Stewart. These guys knew how to play music, but I play guitar. But we had no drummer. We had a set of drums there. I started playing drums. I started picking up. We were actually just playing music, no song, but I was the only one that knew how to sing. So we set up a mic, and then I was having a rough time trying to drum at the same time, playing, you know, trying to sing a song.
I know the feeling.
Yeah, so I was going off beat, and then we needed a drummer, and then my brother Paul was there. So okay, I'll give you a crash course. You'll be the drummer. So I gave him a crash course, and then he started picking up right away. I got a few practices. He finally picked up, and then now I need to play guitar and sing. So we picked up a couple of songs, and then we started playing. Went on and on and on. Like we started picking up songs here and there. We might have learned about 15, 16 songs.
And then, remember your first gig with the Flame Busters?
Yeah, okay, I'll tell you about that. But anyway, we went there probably about every second night to a fire hall, just jamming away.
Practicing.
Just practicing. We weren't making a band, but we're just practicing.
Having fun, enjoying music.
Yeah.
A bunch of firefighters sitting around.
Yeah, just something to do.
Yeah.
And then, I guess Clifford LaPriest. I guess every time you walk by the building, you could hear it play. Like, I mean, we were playing instruments. You know?
Yeah.
And then, this was October. One day he came up to me and says, "You guys making a band?" Not really, but why? You guys sounded pretty good. You guys want to play the Halloween bash? So, okay, I'll ask the guys first. And I asked Stewart and Ken. Yeah, I guess so, he said. So we need a couple more things, and Stewart went and picked it up. So we haul our little instruments over to the hall, and then we started playing.
Who gave the name Flame Busters? Or,
oh, okay.
it makes sense with you guys being firefighters, but I just wondered, how did it come about, the name?
Okay, the first gig we played, we had no name, right? And then, after we were done, the next day, and then Stuart said, "Now we need a name. We became a band, now we need a name." Okay, what name are we going to use? And we're all thinking. And then I said, okay, we start from the fire department. The instruments belong to the fire department. Why don't we just, you know, blend in with where we got it from? And then Stuart said something. And then Ken said something and said, "What about Flame Busters?" Okay, that's pretty cool. We'll name ourselves Flame Busters. It goes with the fire department. So that's where we got it from.
It all makes sense.
It does make sense.
Yeah. Bunch of volunteer firefighters.
Yeah.
Got a little bit of instruments, and they call yourselves the Flame Busters. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, every time we play a different community, we always mention that.
It had nothing to do with the Ghostbusters.
Yeah, nothing to do with those characters on TV. We just gave ourselves a name because we're a bunch of
that makes sense.
Volunteer
Totally.
firefighters.
Yeah.
Like off to my right here is Stuart. He's a deputy chief, and off to my left My brother-in-law, Ken Roth, he's the fire chief. My brother back there, he's also a firefighter. And me, I'm a firefighter too.
Right.
And everybody started hollering. That's pretty good. Pretty good.
So how did Edward Moore, or when did he come in the picture? Because your band started in '85, you said, right?
Yeah.
And you're still going today with you, Ken, and Paul, right?
Yeah.
I'm fortunate enough to jam with you guys too once in a while too. But when did Edward come in the picture? Was it early on in those days? Or?
It might have been probably about 2 years. I can't really remember. It was probably about 2 years after we
When you first started playing?
Yeah. We needed a rhythm player. So we knew that Big Man knew how to play bass. He always came around every time we practiced. So one day we asked him to see if he wanted to play with us for practice. He said, okay. So we started practicing together, and I started playing rhythm guitar.
I see.
And then that's where Big Man joined us. I'm not sure for how long, but he was with us for a while.
For a while there,
Yeah.
yeah. That's pretty good, interesting news there. Learning about the history of the Flamebusters.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you might want to add that you can think of? Any kind of interesting stories or anything that might stand out from one of your gigs? You know, maybe a funny story or something you could share with us from maybe back in your early days of playing with the Flamebusters?
Well, something interesting about our band or myself, like back before I even started playing music, there's one particular band I just love listening to. It was Trooper. I just love Trooper. And then one day in Buffalo Narrows, they needed an open act band for Trooper, and they invited us.
That was during the good old Buffalo Jamboree days, right? I remember that. I was
and
part of
then
that too.
we were sitting in a dressing room here with Trooper band, talking with these guys. So we done an open act for them. It's actually pretty,
It makes you feel good being able to
yeah,
perform with people you looked up to back in the day when you were starting. Yes.
Especially I used to play, listen to these guys on cassette tape. I just loved their music. Next thing I know, I was up on the stage playing with them. It's
quite the feeling.
Quite the feeling, and it was really, really exciting.
So that stood out to you, and that's a good memory, right? So
yeah, it is.
Awesome. So you played with your brother Paul, and you mentioned that you kind of gave him a crash course on the drums. And I'm just wondering, how did you learn how to play the drums?
That's just from when I listen to music. I always listen to the beat. Listen to the beat. I always tap my feet. I just gave myself this thing. Just have something sitting in front of me, just tapping away. I started picking up. That's where I picked it up from.
Right on. So, being a musician from the north, you've been able to travel and go to many places. Is there any communities or any other places that you you might want to mention that you traveled to? You mentioned Buffalo Narrows. What other communities have you traveled with the Flamebusters throughout the years? Maybe you can just mention a few of those communities.
And we played in Meadow Lake, of course, Buffalo, Alcross, Patronac, Dillon, Stony Rapids. We actually flew up there twice. And then we played in Prince Albert for this, I can't remember what it was for, but they had this gathering for treaty
So
Indians.
you kind of traveled all across the north, like Prince
did.
Albert and north, and really played many years traveling.
La Ronge. We played at both bars in North, Katsaki Hall.
You even played there?
I
never got a chance to play there. I used to play in the Ronge, the Northlands, and the Zoo. I've never played in that hall. Did you ever play in the old Animal Hall before it was taken down, or was that before your time?
That's the first place we ever played.
The Flamebusters?
Animal Hall.
Really? Okay. Yeah. So that must have been in the real early 80s.
Early 80s. I actually seen a picture of that place not too long ago, somebody had a picture of that place. The front entrance of that place.
Must have brought some good memories.
Oh yeah.
So Darcy, just for the folks back that are watching this, can you, if you don't mind, can you mention how old you are for this interview?
Right now?
Yeah, if you're okay mentioning your age.
I'm 52 years old right now.
You're 52.
I just celebrated my birthday.
We talked about it earlier. I just want to make sure you're comfortable mentioning your age.
Yeah.
He's not 25, girls, so sorry.
Okay, yeah. Flip it back the other way.
I'm trying that trick now that I'm 43, but it doesn't seem to work. So yes, so with that being said, I really wanted to say thank you for sitting down and sharing some of that Flamebuster history with us, and your musical history, your past and whatnot. I just wanted to ask one more time before we sign out if you can remember maybe any local musicians that you remember from back in the day, or maybe somebody that was older than you or before your time that maybe you could remember that was a musician in town that you might remember. I'm just wondering if there's any musicians that, because I know the old Tarsus was mentioned, and that old, there was a couple of other musicians that were mentioned in previous interviews, Daddy, George Skunk, Buckley, there was other musicians that I really wasn't aware of that were part of those early days in the Loche. And you mentioned watching musicians and stuff. So you mentioned Albert, I know that, but I just wanted to know if there's anybody else that you might have thought of that might have been a local musician that maybe not have been playing in that group or something. Is there anybody that you can think of?
I don't think I can remember anybody else besides the one you just mentioned. I don't think I can remember anybody.
Well, there was also Elo was mentioned as well. Lawrence Janvier back in the day playing.
Oh yeah, Lawrence
Northwind, yeah. Harold, of course, and all the guys, right? That's all. I was just wondering if there was anybody that stood out there that you could remember. That's all. And if you can't, that's fine. I know I mentioned all the names there, but I was just wondering if I could pick your brain, and maybe there was somebody that wasn't mentioned that you could remember. That's all. So with that being said, do you remember anybody at all that you want to mention?
No.
Okay, well, that's fine. So before we sign off, I usually like to ask the musicians that I interview if they could give any words of wisdom or advice for any future musician or somebody that might want to get into music, or maybe getting started, maybe wants to learn how to sing or play an instrument, or maybe already a musician in a band and just starting. What kind of words of wisdom would you give them?
Well, if you really want to play music, I'm not sure, to myself, I said, not everybody was supposed to be a musician, but if you really want to play, you got to put lots of practice in it. But it does work. That's where I started off from. So if you want to play music, don't give up on it. If it's your dream, do it. It was my dream, so I did it. If it works for me, I'm pretty sure it'll work for anybody.
Follow your dreams is what you're saying.
Yeah.
And practice hard.
Practice hard.
What you want to do.
Playing music needs a lot of practice. I used to sit there by myself, sometimes about 4 or 5 hours straight, practicing. But at the end, it paid off.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So with that, Darcy, I really want to thank you for sitting down with me this evening and, like I said, sharing your musical history and some of those Flamebuster early stories. I look forward to interviewing some of the other Flamebusters as I move forward with these interviews. And once again, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Anytime.